and understand how that story mirrors each other, or what's different about the story locally. I mean, I think the Mount Pleasant, I think the median income, household income is something around 110,000, something along those lines. But what's the average sales price in Mount Pleasant? A lot more than that, which is fascinating. So this talks to affordability, so it can help us advise our clients. It can also help us understand what price points are they looking at. And then by understanding what price points we're looking at, or they're looking at based on their incomes and the median incomes, we can understand who to target and who to solve problems for. And all of our marketing and messaging, straight from Shift, should be geared toward the problems that that particular demographic has, so that we can help more people. Does that make sense? So again, these are just stories, and then by understanding the story that the numbers are telling us, we can understand how we pivot our actions to help the most people possible.
Awesome. And so when we're going to start with the relationship between home buyers and real estate agents. So I'm going to go read this real quick before we touch on this slide.
It's 126.
But buyers typically spend 10 weeks searching for homes, and they purchased and looked at a median of 7 homes, but they spent 10 weeks searching. The number that's really interesting is 2 weeks. The first 2 weeks of that search, they didn't want to talk to you. They didn't reach out to real estate agents. They did not communicate with real estate agents. So 20% of their search was spent by themselves. Why is that so crucial when we talk about a 36 touch?
Get them before someone else.
You get them before someone else.
And a 36 touches somebody, how many times is somebody getting an email each month? Twice, so every 2 weeks. So you're catching them in that period where they're not reaching out to you. So for first-time home buyers, I think is who we're talking about.
We're talking about all
Or
buyers.
just all buyers. The first 2 weeks, they're simply just searching online. So there's two
Or
pieces
for
there.
information on how.
Or for information on how. So there's 2 pieces there. First, they need to search through my site, so that I know when they're searching. We need to take the search back, and we're gonna talk about that a lot. Second, they're not going to reach out to us in that 2 weeks prior to them going and talking to a real estate agent. And if somebody else in that 2 weeks touches them and reaches out, emotional proximity, right? Then I'm going to miss that buyer, because 70-some%, I think it's 76%, go with their first work with the first agent they meet with,
They only interview one too.
which is a fascinating statistic. So now this just goes back to how important it is to consistently, with frequency and intensity, reach out to our database, whether it's through automated drip campaigns, whether it's through quarterly calls, however you want to do that to provide unique value. It is imperative that we're doing so.
Because if you don't, you lost them, because they only interviewed one. And so they went to a different website, or they got information from someone else during that 2 week stint that you weren't talking to them. They said, yeah, I'll show you that house, or yeah, I've got what you're looking for. And who did they use? They didn't use us. They went with the other agent who was closer to them. And that is the opportunity with the 36 touch. So step number 1, and when we look at this opportunity for home buyers, is get your 36 touch together. Number 1. Now,
One more point to that. So, and some will say, well, what should the 36 touch be, right? It needs to be needed and useful. Needed and useful. You're a real estate agent. What does a real estate agent provide? Information. They provide information. They provide information about the real estate market and about the process of buying, selling, and investing in real estate. So if I was to build a 36 touch, I'll give you a simple template. The first week, I would send 4 emails a month. That's not 36 touches, but I would go a little bit more. However, I would sell the first week, the seller process. So my first week of my touch process would be, what do sellers have to know in this particular market? The second week would be, what do buyers have to know in this particular market? What is the process? The third week would be, what's happening in the Charleston market? And the fourth week would be more genuine about who I am and why you should work with me. Seller, buyer information, Charleston market, and who am I and why should you work with me?
I want to add one other thing that I think is a missed opportunity, especially in a market like this where everybody's moving from here. When I moved here, I clicked on every single real estate agent ad I found. And I had all these agents say, do you want to see this house? Or can I set you up on a search? But I had no agent, not a single one, call me and say, well, do you need a pediatrician? Here's the best Chinese restaurant. Here's where you should go downtown on date night. Here's the best dentist. No one did that. So my wife has to go onto the Facebook moms group, or we have to Google, we have to trust somebody else's advice. Or what's it look like where, oh, you're thinking about moving to Charleston? I saw that you had 3 kids. Here's my list of pediatricians. Or top pediatricians in the market. So you're saying this is what's going on in the market. Oh, and by the way, here's my favorite restaurant. Or here's something about it, because majority of people that are moving here don't have any idea with what's going on here. And they need somebody to tell them. The only reason I know about Golden Bowl is because John told me about Golden Bowl. I didn't have Chinese for 6 months.
That sounds terrible.
It's awful.
Oh,
But had I had a real estate agent send me that in a newsletter, oh, what's your favorite type of food? Let me send you a couple recommendations. I know you're probably a year out from buying. So you're doing all of those things, especially in a community where people are moving into. So when we go to this, what do you think, what is the thing that we've been telling people as to what is the biggest concern to home buyers right now?
Interest rates.
Interest rates.
100%.
Great. So when we survey.
And that's the story, to be honest, that's the story that real estate agents have absolutely perpetuated.
Myself included. Yet when we asked the consumer, the primary reason for the timing of the home purchase, only 5% talked about the interest rates. The others were, I just need to buy a house, or I have to. It's right now's the time, or I have to. Only 5, the biggest story that we're sharing with people, only 5% of the market is worried about. So what are we doing? We're causing fear. We're saying interest rates are falling, and they're saying we don't give an S.
Keep in mind that that survey was July of 22 to June of 23,
Yes.
so before they peaked out.
Before they peaked out, but it's still,
Right.
we're seeing that they don't necessarily care.
So while they were raising
Yeah.
Right.
quickly,
Right.
very quickly. So, and again, whoever's loudest, everybody's gonna be like, that story just started, it's a feedback.
Mhm.
They say something, they create a story, they go and gather evidence, then they continue that feedback loop. As the local market expert, we have to help them understand what is it that they truly want. They have to buy. Shift tells us that there are 2 reasons that people buy, sell real estate. Number 1, personal reasons. Number 2, positive market expectations. Positive market expectations would interest rates would fall into positive market expectations. They're telling us from a consumer perspective that they don't care. Focus on the personal reasons and find those individuals and serve that need in your database.
There's another stat in here that says, the reason the reason most people bought a house was because they just felt like they needed to buy a house.
And another
Not
was
because-
because they wanted to move closer to family.
Yeah.
So if you had a buyer that came down here, what's the first thing you would talk to them after they transact? What would you talk to them about? If I know that majority of individuals within a year or 2 will move closer, will sell because they want to move closer to family
When are your friends and family getting down here, Vince?
every time. It's something like 40% sellers move for that reason.
So we're gonna get into chapter 3. That was just one snippet from chapter 2. Chapter 1. This one is, this to me is where we can really talk about a huge opportunity, when we look at this. This is the first step taken during the home buying process. What percentage of our home buyers were first-time home buyers? 1 in 3. 1 in 3 of homes purchased last year were purchased by first-time home buyers. Here's the really cool stat. 1 in 2 of them didn't start their search online. So 33% of the market was first-time home buyers, and 50% of them started their search by seeking out information on how the heck I buy a house.
Not on what house am I going to buy? How do I do it? Right? So 50% of those first-time home buyers started by understanding the process, not by what house do I want to look at or where do I want to move.
So there, you want to talk about an opportunity zone? That's the opportunity zone. Be the information provider for first-time home buyers. We see that it drops off pretty significantly after they've already purchased a house. So purchasing a home, that type of marketing is okay. Purchasing your first home in 2024, question mark, is incredible marketing. Cause you're targeting 33% of which 50% are saying, I need that information. So if they go to Google and they type in, how do I buy a house in 2024? Whose name pops up? This is not my name, nobody in this room's name. It's gonna be somebody else's name and somebody else's information who got them in that 2-week search and you lost. Or what does it look like that if I go on to John's website or John's Instagram or John's Facebook or anything, I look on there and it says, buying your first home in 2024, download my packet. And so
Here's
that's,
how to do it.
instead of going to Google, they go to your guys' websites because you have that information and you're talking about it and you're getting on live and you're saying, hey, you thought about buying a house in 2024. I know it's an intimidating process because they're saying it is. Here's how we do it. I'd love for you to do it. I'd love to help you. And you're the information provider. We talked about, and do we have to go create this? Do we have to go create the first time homebuyer template? Absolutely not. It's in command and Gary wrote a book on it. Gary wrote a book on first-time homebuyers that goes from buying your first house to owning investment properties. So here's the play I would run, is I would go out to Facebook or Instagram or however you guys are talking to your database. And I would say, if you're thinking about buying your first house in 2024, schedule a 15-minute call with me and I'm gonna send you a book on how to buy your house. And you pay a $10 book for everybody who's gonna call to give you that information, because that's where they're starting their search, not online. So be the information provider specifically for these first-time home buyers. That's a big opportunity though. Oh, and just before we move on, they're overwhelmingly satisfied with you guys. 88% of them surveys said that they are satisfied with the real estate agent and the real estate process. So this story that everybody else is telling you that they hate you guys and the real estate agents are awful, they're not saying that. 90% are saying that they love you guys and they need you guys. You're not going anywhere as long as you continue to provide information and provide a high level of service. Just had to touch on that.
Knowledge, advice, and service. Those 3 words come up a ton through the, not verbatim, but the concepts of those 3 things, that's what a real estate agent does. They provide knowledge, advice, and service. You're a fiduciary. Help people understand the home buying process and the home selling process first. Second, help them search for homes. That's what they care about. They're coming to you for real estate knowledge. Be the local market expert. If you're not the local market expert, it's going to be more difficult to provide those 3 things, which is exactly what home buyers and sellers are telling us they want. But it's not complicated. Success lies in the simple. Don't need all kinds of crazy stuff. We just need to give them the knowledge and the education they want. We don't have to give them other things that we think they want.
The other thing that really stood out is the most important thing to them really is integrity of the agent. That's
We're gonna get
really
that. I
important.
love that. And most for those in West Ashley and Key and Nextons, the most important thing to a buyer, or seller, or consumer is honesty and integrity. Now, following close to that for, I think, sellers is experience. However, and it just switched. It used to be last year, I think it was 23% said it was all about knowledge, advice, or knowledge, honesty and integrity. But this year, 1% more said experience. They're very, very close. Interesting stuff.
And so when we ask consumers the usefulness of information sources, real estate agents, again, are overwhelmingly the largest source of information. They are going to you guys for the information and they are going to the internet for the search. And on this next slide,
That's a really big point that you just made. They're going to you for the information on the process, for the advice. They're going to the internet for the search. How do I pair those 2 things together? Technology helps us understand who we can talk to and service based on where they're clicking. Leverage technology. Technology, it doesn't matter. I'm not great at technology. We can perpetuate that narrative all day. We have to understand or get people in our world that understand technology and leverage that tool. A tool creates effectiveness and efficiency in the system that we operate. Technology can help us at a really high level, give the consumer what they want.
and consumers are expecting you to be the expert, so you better be. Simple as that. level up your service. They go to the search for the search. They can do that online. If you're gonna focus somewhere, you better become the expert. The 5% that say that interest rates are an issue, you better be able to you better have information as to how we can have that conversation.
Or you better have a great partner
Yes.
that can articulate that based on your consumer experience expectations. You don't have to know everything. You have to know just enough. You are the quarterback of the real estate transaction. So when I don't understand, there's somebody's asking me, that 5% is asking me about what's gonna happen in the interest rate, in interest rates. What's gonna happen economically, all those things. Know just enough. This is my partner, X, Y, and Z, right? We have great mortgage partners in Kelly up in Somerville, in Matt Mears and Direct Mortgage. We have great partners. Leverage them. This is what I'm understanding from them, and you gotta talk to them because they're going to help you understand this process at a higher level than I am.
This next slide, where the buyer found the house they purchased versus 2001 and 2000 to 2023, this is a shocking statistic. For the first time ever, 100% of home buyers use the internet to help to buy their home for the first time ever. So guess what's not going away? The internet's not a fad. It's not. In 20 years, Vince saw this, in 20 years, it went from.
In 1995, 2% of individuals used the internet, which makes sense, right? It took 20 years for 100% of buyers and sellers to use the internet within their home buying process. Just hit last year.
And you know,
That's fascinating to me.
the even cooler part about that, so the positive outlook for you guys is that in that same time, more home buyers used real estate agents to purchase a home. So more information was available to them, more resources were available to them, yet they chose to use you guys more.
To help distill the information and to understand the information.
Yeah.
Knowledge, advice, and service. They have the information. They do, like they can get it online now. And everybody's using it. They find 51% found the house that they bought online, I think. 52% found it on the internet, like the house that they purchased on the internet. Right? Which automatically, we were to talk commissions, right, reduces our commission. We're paid for knowledge, advice, and service, but they're getting the knowledge somewhere else. We have to then up advice and service to compensate for the decrease in them going and getting knowledge elsewhere. They're still coming to us, but they're coming to us to help them understand what that knowledge they just got online means and how it affects them. So understand it and help distill it so that they can understand it. Simple.
Has anybody seen the video that John Keller put together about where entrepreneurs thrive?
Yep.
There's a quote in it where he says, our job as the real estate agent, our clients are jumping off a cliff and it's our job to give them wings as they go down. That's where it's being said right here. They're jumping off a cliff. I found my home online. Now what? And they just jumped. And you have to give them wings on the way down. And they're trusting you to at a higher rate than ever before to be able to give them those wings. So I wrote here, I'm reiterating this, as consumers find their home online, your value has to expand beyond the search. You're not just a home search anymore. Your value has to expand beyond the search. Your job's not done when they found the house. That's probably where your job begins now. Awesome.
Can I just add?
Please.
You know, they really stress knowledge and experience and all that. I mean, Samantha's only been doing real estate on our team for 6 months, but she just bought her first home. She has firsthand knowledge and experience that she can share with buyers of what it's like to be a first-time home buyer. So even if you haven't been in it long, there's something you can grasp that you really have to offer. I think that.
100%, and that's empathy, right? I mean, trust is created through authenticity, logic, and empathy. And Samantha, that's a great example in, hey, I feel you, I care for you. People don't care how much you know, until they know how much you care, right? We have to live by that. So if we don't have that experience, or we don't have exactly that knowledge, lean on the caring, create the trust, because like Heidi said earlier, buyers and sellers, number one, want trust and honesty and integrity.
And then I don't think so we'll touch on this one real quick. We're gonna call Joseph onto this one. There is a slide that we'll talk about that we're not gonna bring over here, but the value of the websites were very surface level. Right? The value of the internet search, they liked for the photos, the detailed information about the properties and floor plans. So when they're searching online, it's all surface level that they're looking for. Right? So just understand that they're not getting the actual value from there, they're getting the surface level information. Now, here is where we're gonna bring Joseph in, because we've heard all about buyer commissions right now.
Yeah, Joseph, right before we do that, I wanna make a quick point. We were at a training last week and they mentioned 3 things that every agent should be doing right now. We all understand that the headwinds in real estate from a litigation standpoint are real, they're strong. However, the consumer is still telling us that we're needed and that we're valuable. There are 3 things that we have to appreciate. Number 1, we have to understand our unique value proposition. 100% understand our unique value proposition. Jan, Heidi, Owen, they all have a different value proposition, unique value proposition. Not everybody is going to work with Vinnie Marianne, right? They might not like it, that's okay, but they may work with and fit better with Ben. We have to understand our unique value proposition. Number 2, we have to have a menu of services. We have to help the buyer and seller understand what we are going to bring to the table to help them buy, sell, and invest in real estate. And then number 3, we must have buyers specifically under buyer agreement, buyer representation agreement immediately. And what this is showing us is that agent representation disclosure for first time and repeat buyers. What percentage of buyers were under an agent representation disclosure? Yes, at the first meeting, 25%. Yes, when contract was written, 22%. Yes, at some other time, 12%. No or don't know, 41%. From a buyer representation agreement standpoint, yes, a written agreement, 41%. Only 41%. An oral agreement, which doesn't stand in South Carolina.
Any place.
Or any place. Joseph's gonna talk about that before I get us in trouble, 17%. So I pretty much put that in no. No, 26% don't know. I think the don't knows make me the most angry, by the way. Because as a real estate agent, you're not explaining the process to a consumer. All that does is diminish the value of every other real estate agent that actually does that. Don't do that. Be transparent, have integrity, and be trustworthy, right? So Joseph, you want to talk to the intricacies of what all these numbers are telling us?
Yeah. Yeah, so everything that Vince just said. No, I mean, I think there's some interesting information in here is, number 1, it's not optional to do the first one, right? Well, to sign it is optional, right? You can't force the consumer to sign an agency disclosure, but it is fascinating to me that only 25% signed it at the first meeting. I think that when contract was written, that 22%, that's probably when the majority of you have it signed. Now, you may have presented it early on. I love that over 25% of first-time homebuyers don't know. That's a problem. Like, that's one of the main reasons that these lawsuits get created, is because buyers don't know. Like, we're not presenting this information to them. So the thing to take from this, honestly, just the black and white, regardless of what these stats are, is by law, we have to present it at the first substantive contact, right? And yes, there's a signature line on there. However, has anybody ever had a buyer say, I'm really not comfortable signing that yet? Just me? Okay, so if that were ever to happen to you, by the way, if you didn't raise your hand, it's probably because you haven't presented it early enough. Because most of the buyers, there are, not most, but a lot of buyers may have an issue with it. That's fine, don't die on that hill. You're still building a relationship. Just make a note on there to say, hey, January 18th, spoke to Shakima about this, wasn't comfortable signing. That's it, it's just a disclosure of the relationship. Right? By the way, there are 2 other places moving forward that they do have to sign and attest to the fact that you presented to them this at the first substantive contact. So if you haven't done that, and then you sit down with me and I go through a contract agreement, like if you're a first-time home buyer, right? And I'm going through the purchase and sale agreement, on the first page, one of the first things I ask you to initial is that I've presented something to you weeks prior to that and I haven't. That's a validity issue that's they may not say it to you, but in their mind, you've just kind of had them chisel away a little bit of their trust. Right, and just, that's something to keep in mind. So aside from all that, it's the law, so present it at the beginning, right, let's just not forget that part. But the second part, Vince, is interesting because it's like the written, first of all, the oral agreement, that's, I don't even know what that means, like, that's not, the fact that people put that on there is, well, these are all multiple choice, by the way, but the fact that they have it on there is interesting, but it doesn't exist in South Carolina. You cannot represent a buyer as an agent and actually have them as a client, without a written agreement in the state of South Carolina. That's just what it is. No agreement at all is possible in South Carolina, but it just makes them a transaction broker. So last part I'll say about this, that as we all know, the importance of that is right now, our company policy is that we offer the same to buyers agents that we do to transaction brokers. Like we don't want to encourage one way or the other. We don't want to be seen as saying, hey, it's better if you have an agent or don't by offering a different amount of money. That being said, with these lawsuits and what's going on and sellers starting to choose, I do believe that the transaction brokerage compensation that's offered will be the first to start to be compressed. Right? So if you're out showing homes and I write an offer with Shakima and I present that offer and it gets ratified, and then that listing agent turns around and says, oh, by the way, I do need your buyer agency agreement, which we don't ask a lot right now, yet can, and I don't have one. There's no obligation for that listing agent to pay me what they're offering to the buyer's agent. So you're not protecting yourself in there. So those are just a couple points on that. I'll close with this. You have to present the agency disclosure agreement when you first have substantive contact with a buyer. No, it's not on the first phone call. Right? But if you start to get into some pretty heavy discussion with them, you may want to bring it to the first phone. Okay? Yes, question.
So I think it would be helpful, I mean, it took me a number of years in getting to Keller Williams to really go through it with confidence and some grace. But I also found that when I take an extra copy for them, to also have, like, here's a copy of what you just signed, because everything is DocuSign, they're a lot more like, oh yeah, absolutely, like,
Yeah.
so
So
just
the
something
point-
to keep in mind.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good point. Having a physical copy, but let's be honest, it helps you explain it literally walks through explaining the difference. I mean, the buyer's agency agreement is the exact same way. We're so fortunate to have the contracts we have in the state, because they literally write the script for us, right? So use them. Anything else? Any questions on your end?
Questions? Awesome. No, we're good. I love it. What's next?
We've already touched on this a little bit, as to the 50% with what buyers want most from the real estate agent is 50% is help them find a house, yet we know that they're doing that online. The other 50% is where you guys really need to level up your skills. You need to take this back. You need to take the search back, right? Stop letting them go to third parties because you lost half of them. So they're going to your website. Every single person in this room, whether it's command or not, you have access to your own website where they can search on. You need to be sharing it to your clients. This is where they're doing that. The other stuff, this is where we need to level up. This is the skills-based market was going, that thing we were all talking about a couple years ago and this past year was skills-based. That's this 50%. This is where we need to be leveling up. This can be automated. Take that back, level up that.
And so to kind of back up a little bit, they talked about the value of website features, and it kind of goes to this. The value of website features, photos, 66% said that photos were very useful. 66%. Don't take them with your iPhone, please. I mean, I'm not even a
For
real
the
estate
love
agent,
of
and I know
God,
that.
please don't do that.
So detailed information about properties for sale, 65% said that was very useful. Floor plans, 47% said that was very useful. Number 4, real estate agent contact information. If I was number 4, and that's 43%, everything else is relatively small. Super interesting to me from the standpoint of the features on our websites. It's about the home buying process or selling process, and it's about the photos and your contact information. Give them those things, make it visible, make it easy. And it's right in front of you.
And it's all on command already built for you. So the next slide is where they found them. I'm gonna read you guys a quick little excerpt from this. It says, in general, buyers were very satisfied with their real estate agent skills, qualities, with 90% saying that they were very satisfied with the knowledge of the purchase process, as well as 89% saying that they were very satisfied with their agent's honesty and integrity, and 88% with their responsiveness and knowledge of the real estate market. Great job, guys. When asked if they would use their real estate agent again or recommend them to others, 90% of the buyers would definitely or recommend their agent. Buyers typically had already recommended their agent once since purchasing their home. Who's received a referral from every single transaction that happened last year?
Not every single transaction.
Yet they're telling you that they have.
They've told somebody, but because we didn't stay in contact or we didn't ask, we didn't get that information back to us. They told somebody, John did a great job for me, you should call him when you wanna buy. They didn't give that information to you.
They talked
They
about.
actually already did the hard part. We just didn't ask, or we weren't there to get the information that they gave it out. It's super interesting to me.
But I think that shows why it's important that, okay, you gave my information, can I have their information? Because if they,
When they're not even
Probably.
telling you that they did it.
because what's gonna happen is then, in the first 2 weeks, they're gonna start looking online.
Bingo.
And then once they start looking online, they'll find another agent and honestly forget that you even exist.
Bingo. Can we say that again, just louder?
I forget what
Stoke.
I said. I blacked out.
That was it. Bingo.
So the buyers, so you close the transaction, they refer you to someone at some point. Usually it's like, oh, I told someone about you, I told them to reach out. They probably won't, and what we just found out is that within the first 2 weeks that they start to search, they're gonna look online. Once they start looking online, that's when they'll probably get connected with a different agent who will then get their business because they forgot that you exist.
You literally have a 2-week window,
I get that.
because if the home buying process is 10 weeks, you have 2 weeks prior to them talking to an agent.
Yeah, and it does
You have to
happen
be in
all the
front of-
time where I follow up with my people and like, oh, I was talking about you a couple weeks ago. It's like, shit, there's my 2 weeks, but I was
Exactly.
talking about you a couple weeks ago to my friend, gave him your information. It's like, oh, I never heard about this. I didn't.
I didn't
speak to
get a
them yet.
call.
Can I reach out to them if you don't mind?
It,
You have to get their information.
if you've been at Keller Williams longer than 5 years, the script around this exact thing was the promise. Does anybody remember the promise? So you sit down with all of your consumers, they go under contract, and what you say to them is, oh, and here's my promise to you. Here's everything I'm gonna do for you in this transaction. I'm gonna treat you with, I'm gonna be honest in integrity, and you can trust me, and I'm gonna communicate with you, all the things that they said that they want.
Right from your menu of services.
Right from your bank, you're gonna say everything that they said they want, you're gonna do that. And the one thing I ask from you, and it's a document, you write this, and the one thing I ask from you is at the end, if I've lived up to all of these promises, that I can get the name and number of one person that you think might be interested in buying or selling this year. Is that something we can agree to? The answer will always be yes. Okay, chances are they've already talked to you about somebody. And Owen, if for some reason we get to I'm not gonna bring this document up the rest of the transaction. But if for some reason we get to the transaction and we close, and I don't have that referral, I'm gonna have to ask what I did wrong. And a good majority of the time, they're gonna sit down and you're gonna get to the closing table and you're gonna say, congratulations on your guys' house. Owen, that's awesome. I'm so pumped for you. Do you mind me asking just a quick question before you? The answer will be yes. Can you tell me what I did wrong in the transaction? And they're gonna say nothing. And they're gonna say, I gotta pull out this document though. You remember how I promised you that I would do all of these things? And all I asked was one referral of somebody that might be interested in buying or selling. So I just assumed that I did something wrong because I had not lived up to my promise. So I know you don't have somebody in the top of your mind right this second, but what I'm gonna do is I'm always gonna call you a week after and say, how's that house? Are you loving it? How's the move going? And maybe at that time you could come up with 1 or 2 names for me. Would that be something we could agree to? Awesome.
And you can put it however you wanna put it. Like, you can say, I love to work with certain individuals. As a business owner, I get the option to choose who I get to work with. And I've found that the people that I enjoy working with most are those that are referred to me through the people that I'm already enjoying working with.
Mhm.
So, hey, based on this promise, where's my referral? Say it nice,
Yeah.
right? So you can craft it to whatever is authentic to you. For him, he's gonna be direct. Me, I'm probably gonna wordsmith. right? But find what works for you, but just ask. Ask, they're already doing it. Based on the numbers.
And by the way, that dialogue that I just said is the dialogue you want to have happen. Because when they don't have it, they're gonna come up with 5 names when you call them in a week. Just so you know. So that is the dialogue you want, because they're so busy thinking about their process, which they should be. It's the biggest thing going on in their life. They're not thinking, oh, I gotta make sure I get in that referral I promised them.
So let's run through these, because we're running a little, go back to that real quick. So real quick,
This is where the whole buyers were purchased.
Yeah.
43% were referral, obviously referral, and they used agent previously to buy or sell a home. This stat should shock you guys. Okay, 13% of people use the agent that they previously used. What percentage of agents just said that they would use the same agent again? 90. 13% did. What? Like what? They all said that they loved you, you did a great job, they didn't use you.
Well, the
forgot about it.
obvious answer is they forgot about you. I'm gonna give you one other answer, though.
They're not in the business anymore.
They're not in the business anymore. And that, to me, I love that, because I'm gonna be in the business. With all due respect. So it is so imperative that we appreciate that people that it's gonna show us that it's about a 10-year average, right? The people live in their house. However, based on age, if they're under 44, it's something like 40 or 50% of them are probably gonna buy or sell in 5 years. And we'll get to that stat. However, it's so important that we're touching base and following up with our database,
Vince, real quick, why are they not in the business anymore though?
because they weren't following up with people.
Because they weren't following up the database. Like, guys, it's all the same, it's all connected. We were talking
Super simple.
about it through all this is exactly still in the MREA. The MREA is this, all the things our consumers are telling us is the MREA. Okay, it's all there. The only difference that the MREA didn't have when it was written was online search. So do the MREA, because the models and systems still work, and take back the search. And guess what? You win, you're not out of business.
So here's what we were referring to earlier. Most important factors when choosing an agent. Agent experience, 21%. Agent is honest and trustworthy, 19%. Here's what's really cool about this. If I'm new to the business, how do I show experience?
Market center.
I lean on the brokers that's behind me. Remember back in the day, you would have, all kinds of different computers, like an HP or Microsoft or X, Y, and Z, right? You'd have all these computers, but all of them had that little blue sticker, it said Intel. That little blue sticker, and it made you know that inside that computer, it's good. It's literally brand reinforcement. Bunch of different types of computers, but they all had that little blue sticker. That's what you have with Keller Williams. It's something like 1 in 4 listings or 1 in 3 listings.
1 in 4 houses.
1 in 4
The
housing.
KW sign in the yard.
What sells with the KW sign in the yard, that's pretty awesome. Like, you have brand reinforcement behind you. That's experience. Leverage it. Reach out to the ALC member, like John or Mike or Owen or Jan. Did I miss anybody? I almost missed Jan.
Renee. Raise your
Renee. Oh, Desiree, geez. There's a lot of, Shantae, I missed that one too. See what I do when I talk too much? And there's a bunch of West Ashley over there. I heard Celeste earlier and Christina. So reach out to those agents. Even bring them on an appointment. If you want that agent experience to learn. What's next?
We're almost done.
Honesty, integrity again. I mean, importance of a real estate agent, skills and qualities, honesty, integrity. Notice how this is coming up. People do business with people they know, love, and trust. Period. People do business with people they know, love, and trust. People don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. Connect with your agent or with your client base. Connect with your client base. Ask them how you doing. It's a great first question.
Ryan Serhant's
Great
way
accent.
of putting it is,
Yeah,
Ryan Serhant says, people hate being sold, but they love shopping with friends. So said differently.
Next.
This one is just a shocking number, and we'll go through this. If this didn't blow, 75%, the number of children under the age of 18 residing in a homesteader's home, 75% of the houses that were sold last year had no kids.
I know. That's weird.
Wow.
That's
What does it
crazy.
tell you?
Downsizing or.
A lot of that, it tells me that anybody that has kids in high school I should talk to regularly, literally. Because 75% of the homes that were sold didn't have any kids in them. So everybody that has high schoolers, and those high schoolers are getting ready to go to college, assuming, right? I'm talking to everyone, they are A or B buyers, or sellers rather. I should be communicating with them, I should be having connection with them, I should get to know them, I should invite them to events about what? The seller process?
Sponsor of the high school graduation, I don't know, get in front of
Do something.
them.
Talk to those, so everybody in my database that is getting ready to fly the coop, what are they saying?
Yeah.
Get out of the house.
But
Right? You should be talking to, because this is a fascinating
I
statistic.
think that it used to be that if you could, you bought your first home, you weren't really getting that ready to have a family or a big
Yeah.
family. And then you might upsize,
Yeah.
and then you'll downsize later. These slides show that they skipped the middle stage. People are waiting to buy later when they show the age break.
Yep.
And so they're buying that house for a family, right? They're looking for that 3-2 was the main combo
Yes.
of size.
That's right.
And then, so they're not upsizing, they've skipped that. They're delaying their first purchase, they're skipping that, and then they're downsizing later.
It's a great
It's
point,
really interesting.
because it's up
really
from
interesting.
28 years
So we
old.
don't get as many transactions per family
Yeah.
as the past.
That's interesting.
Yet, we can get just as many by doing what? Ensuring we're asking for the referral, because they're already referring us. Right? Having a system to ask for that referral. What's next?
That's it. Oh, nope, never mind.
I loved this. So want to move closer to family. So the primary reason for selling previous home, 23% from all seller standpoint, 23%. As you started to go down, look at 51 to 100 miles, 43%. So anybody, do we have a lot of out-of-state buyers? I would be asking every one of them, like we talked about earlier, when's your family moving down? When, who's next? Who can I use the promise script? Who can I help? Right? But every one of those individuals that move from far away, I know that 1 out of 2 of the individuals in their household are going to move because they want to be closer to, them, unless they're real jerks. You never know, but get to connect with them. So this was interesting to me. Want to move. Home is too small was another one, right? Change in family situation, that's personal reasons. So nothing out of the ordinary. I was shocked though, when I saw want to move closer to family and friends, and I saw that 51 to 100 miles.
Yeah, and that's and I think that's probably gonna be, a stat that was mind blowing, and if you've seen it, was that consistently, is there another slide or?
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah.
Is
Yes, there is.
Yeah, so being close to family was still there. There was a stat that said that it was 10 miles was the average distance people moved for 5 years. And then in 2022, it went from 10, it was 10 flat. The average distance was 10. 2022, it went to 50.
And that was COVID and getting out of the city
Yep.
and all that.
And then it dropped back down to 15. So we're starting to see we had this big COVID influx, and it kind of seems like
Starting
that's,
to normalize.
we're starting to normalize away from that. But we still live in Charleston, so we're always gonna have people coming out of state.
Any others? All right, so are you seeing real estate? Okay.
We talked about this, guys, be in contact with your agents or you're out of the business. Your consumers or you're out of the business.
So
Sorry.
what we're gonna do is we're gonna continue to consume this. It's a lot of pages. We're gonna keep on analyzing it. We'll throw tidbits out here or here and there, just around other pieces or other facts that we kind of analyze through this over the next few weeks. Use this. We'll have the link where you can go and you can buy this. I think it's 20 bucks
Only
through NAR.
$19.95 to NAR.
1995. Again, the reason you're using this information is to make your life easier. Instead of trying to throw a bunch of things at the wall like I usually do and see what sticks. Now, based on these facts and what consumers are telling us, we can then target the right people to help. It makes our life so much easier. And it reinforces that the principles and the models within the Millionaire Real Estate Agent book and everything that Keller Williams talks about in staying in contact with your database is still alive and well today. It's all that matters. We are in the relationship business. I've heard that a million times. Let's actually act on it. I think it's really important. Any ahas from West Ashley or for Mount Pleasant before we wrap up? And you have another point?
I'm just gonna give my three action items before you head out. My three action items are: one, take back the search. You need to have a website where they can search for homes. You're not sending them to third-party websites anymore. They're going to your search portal, they're going to your website. On every single email and communication you have is a link to your app or your website, which is free, provided by Keller Williams, or use whatever service you're using. Take back the search, they're searching on your website. Train your consumers to be on your website. Action item number one. Number two, what Vince just said, absolutely be communicating with your database at minimum 36 times. At minimum, that is action. Both of those two things are incredibly important. And then number three is provide information to first-time home buyers. You do those would be my three action items to leave here today and do. Take back the search, communicate in a systematic way, law number three of, four laws of lead generation, and provide a high level of information for first-time home buyers. So they don't have to go to Google, they just have to go to your website or your social pages or however you communicate. Those are my three action items. Let's get Gahas.
And another thing that they did say was that the consumer wants, during the transaction, the consumer wants a phone call.
Yes.
They don't want a text, they don't want an email. Sure, all that stuff is great. They want to talk to you. They want to know that everything is okay. They want to understand the process next to you and ensure that you're next to them. Call them during the process. And the consumer spoke. Let's not ignore them. So any ahas before we wrap up? Thanks for spending a little extra time with us.
We have until 1:30, so technically we're good. We have you till like 12:50.
Wait. West Ashley, any ahas over there, Joseph?
Anything? Anyone?
We're getting shirts that say take back.
Yeah, we've already created, take back the search. Is it take back the search or take the search back?
T-shirts.
Yeah, I want the royalty.
No, we like that. I mean, I thought that was a great message to take, like literally get back in front of the consumer. It's very simple.
Doing the database is what all of those slides really said. Just stay in touch with your people.
Yeah.
do the database.
Yeah, it's literally just building relationships.
Mark Weeks at the residential thing was talking about how, you know, he calls his people, he said, you have to hustle. He
Yeah.
said, I call my people once a week. He said, you don't have to call your people once a week, that might be much, but hustle, contact your people constantly.
Making everybody go.
I know, everybody.
Do you see the?
That's all we got.
The size of your database the size of your business is in direct correlation to the size of your database. Grow your database, grow your business. Grow yourself, grow your business. Simple concepts. Humbled to be in business with all of these. This was awesome. I hope this was good information. We'll get it all out in the recap. And we'll continue to analyze this big book and give you that information as necessary. If you need anything, call or text us. See you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Yeah.
I
Joseph,
give you